Welcome to another episode of the WRLDJOY podcast. My name is Ashley, and I'm joined today by my special guest, Markis Zarate. He is the owner of his own creative agency, as well as a national and international worship leader, and so many other things. Now the owner of a merchandise brand, so I'm so excited for you guys to hear from him today. We're going to be diving into creativity, divinity, as well as who God is as a creator, what he was like before the earth was made, and then also diving into like the lessons that we can learn from creativity and how we can apply that to our lives today practically. So Markis, jump right on in. Let us know who you are, what you're up to, and any context we need to know.
Ashley, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that after all these months, and it's been my fault, I've been busy and missing messages, but I'm glad that we're finally able to connect and do this together. So thank you for creating this platform for other people. And I just pray that it just may continue to bless people in their lives and their adventures of life. I guess a little bit about myself. Yes, my name is Markis Zarate, a worship leader, overall creative. Started my design agency called Zarate Studios a couple of years ago. I just love getting my hands on anything creative, honestly. Creativity has been something core to my life. So from music to visual storytelling, I believe it's all a reflection of being made in the image of our Creator God, who still creates it today. So right now, I'm working on the newest venture is clothing and kind of fashion, and so I've been able to establish some great relationships with some people within the business and starting my own thing. So make heaven crowded. That's the mission. And so many fun things up ahead, just working on so many collections. But yeah, just hopefully being able to get that out to people to also not just like wear the message, but live it out. So I guess that's a little bit about myself in a nutshell.
That's awesome. As you were talking, I thought of two things. One, if anybody knows Markis personally or you've seen his Instagram, he has impeccable style. So the fact that he's starting a merch brand, like maybe we can all start adopting some of your style coolness. And also, this is the third conversation we've had in total, like in our entire lives. But the first time I met you in Texas, I think you delivered one of the best roasts that I still remember to this day.
Oh goodness, what did I do? What did I do?
I think you were talking to me, but you were like, you look like you'd be an Android user. And I was like, wait, I actually burped.
Well, we have to give some context to this. We have to give some context. You can't do me dirty like that.
What was the context?
So just for anyone who's viewing, the context there was I think we were all exchanging some numbers and stuff like that. So this had a context. I didn't just go up to you and just like, hey, you look like an Android user. But just a lot of Android energy. Because the reason why is because you were hating pretty hard on Apple. You had a lot of reservations about it. And so I was like, seems like an Android user here, huh?
Well, unfortunately, the allegations are wrong. I am an Apple user, but we do love our fellow Android apostles. So if you're an Android user, we still love you, just maybe a little bit less. But let's get into it. How long ago would you say you started being creative visually? Like when did that start for you? When did that start to wake in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. When did I first start? It's hard to really put an age to it or a time to it. When I was a kid, I definitely would always reach for my mother's kind of like handheld camera. And we have so much home video footage, but you'd always see me in front of, Mom, let me record. And so that was a continual thing. And so you can definitely tell when I was behind the camera and just these interesting shots or like just like panning, like so like zooming in onto something that just, what was I even doing? So there's definitely those moments at an early age that I guess something about it just really drew me into it. It wasn't until later that I figured out the language behind it. It's like, oh, okay, this is what it is. And so um, definitely at a young age, it was something that I was always drawn to. My mom always had the video cameras, the film cameras around, and she wouldn't say that she's creative, but she definitely inspired me a lot in my creativity, to even music as well. She always had like these Marvin Gaye records, Lauryn Hill, things like that. And so I was just a young kid um, being introduced to some great music.
That's awesome. I feel like the best way to start being creative is just by having a lot of eating a lot of good stuff, developing
Exactly.
your taste, practicing
Hmm.
that freely. That's really awesome. Um, Kind of jumping off of that, like when did you notice that there was a correlation between your creativity and God having a creative identity?
Hmm. It wasn't until much later. I think the tradition I grew up in didn't really create space for creativity like that. So it really wasn't ever talked about, like God being creator. God, yes, He created the earth and the universe and all these different things, but it didn't really translate into you and your creative potential and all these different things. And so it wasn't until much later, I'd probably say a little towards the later years of high school and into early college, it was like, what's next? Like there's those questions: what are you going to be? What are you going to do? And I certainly tried out these other things. I thought I had gone through some pretty crazy health scares that really drew me into the medicine world. And so I thought that I'd be a doctor. Uh, and then I was like, like, I don't really want to go to school for that long. I was always good in school, but I was like, I don't really want to do that. It didn't really click for me. And then I tried some other things like a physician's assistant, still within the medical kind of world, doing some shadowing and trying to figure out like who is Markis and what is he, what's he going to do? I had been doing worship leading all throughout that time, but declaring a major, what was that going to be? And so it wasn't until then that I really found that there's this thing called graphic design that exists out there that had never been done before. And it wasn't until I really was starting to embark through that journey that I really encountered God as creative. And from there, it's hard to, things haven't been the same. So all that to say.
Yeah. Um, when take me along that journey a little bit of deciding to shift from going into medicine to choosing a creative role. I think there are definitely a lot of creatives out there who may not know what opportunities are out there for them, or they feel like they have to kind of succumb to your traditional doctor, lawyer, engineer type roles. But like, what kind of space is there out there for people who want to pursue a creative career?
Yeah, there's a lot of space, and I think that was the most daunting thing for me, was thinking the world was like this. Like it's these. I can be an engineer, a doctor, like the five main ones that are out there, but there is just so many opportunities, um, and lots of ways to make money out there. And so I was just really operating out of those kind of contexts. And I was like, I'm not finding my fit. Sure, I can force the fit into one of these things, but I wasn't having that contentment to like double down and say, this is my major. I was always like, I never want to be that person who had 20 majors and is like 40 and in college. That was like something for me. I don't want to do that. Like, I want to find what that is and like really stick through it. So I'm very big on that. Like, I just want to be committed to one thing and seeing it through. And so it really wasn't till, again, during that kind of that time period where trying to figure out what my major is going to be and so on and so forth, that I was driving down one of the roads here in Florida with my mom, and we're driving through, and I'm just kind of like looking out the windows, and I'm not even sure what we were on our way to do, but I'll always remember this moment because as I'm looking out the windows, I'm seeing all these signs and I'm seeing all these buildings. And I was like, somebody had to make that. These billboards, the logos for these things. And I'm just like, somebody had to make that. Honestly, like that wasn't just there. That wasn't just naturally there. Somebody designed that. Somebody, and of course, I'm using this language now because I now have the language of design, logos, brand systems, so on and so forth. But I didn't know what that was before. But I was like, I want to do that. Whatever that is, I feel like I can do that. And I can do that better. And that really just started getting my mind going. And so that's what ended up kind of opening the door, obviously meeting with some counselors, and they're like, I think this would be the fit for you. And that really was the door that I stepped through, and haven't looked back. And I just see so many things through the creative lens, but not just solely defined by whether it's like painting or graphic design, but or visual storytelling with visual media. It's a part of who we all are. And so I don't know if that answers the question. I might have rambled on a little bit, but that's kind of like how I got into that space, and really started to see, okay, there's more to life than just these different things. What's ironic about it is that the doctors or the hospitals, they need a designer, and like all these fields need creative. And so like everything is creative, everything is design. And yeah, we can go into that some later, but that's just really what really started coming. And I was like, wow, like a whole new world. That song was literally playing in the background. Like, wow, this is really happening. So
No, it's true. Creative touches so many different industries. I would argue even every industry. And so there's definitely so much space like to get into the market if that's something that you're interested in pursuing. I'm curious now. So like from when you started your graphic design major to now, what are some of the lessons that you've kind of gathered in your creative experience, and like how that relates to your faith or like God as a creative? So creative experience all these past years to like God being creative. What are some things you've picked up since then?
yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that's been picked up over the years, all the way from stretching from the importance of rest to just the design like philosophy, like having like an informed approach to it, to the creative process. And so I'll start with the creative process, and these core principles and these three words that I really live by, that inform my creative process, but then also just really inform life. I really believe is that we all dream, and I believe that we're all creative. And so the fact that we dream, I think, is indicative of this bigger dream, of this bigger reality that we long for. And oftentimes we don't get to the point of creating that dream, whatever that may look like. I'm not even going to try to box it in, but whatever that dream may look like, we often don't get to the point of creating that dream because of this uncomfortable place called risk. And so at some point, in order to make this dream a reality, to make it a full creative act and thing, you have to go through risk. You have to be comfortable with putting yourself out there, putting that idea out there, and creating it. And so that really boils back to who God is. He's a dreamer, he's a risk taker, and he's a creator. He had this dream outside of himself to say, like, I want to create, let's make man in our image. Like, let's create a reality, like something beyond this, which is so like profound. And he understood that there, in the process of making man in his image, there would be a risk that is taken. He's going to have to lay his life down. There's going to have to, this introduction of free choice and free will, there's going to be things involved with it. But the creation, the culmination of the creative act in the story of Genesis, making man in his image, like he says, it's very good. It was worth it. And so for me, just like seeing all of it really just boils down to those three things: a dream, a risk, and create. And he did it. And so he invites us into that process as well. And it's like, wow, I'm partaking in the same kind of thing whenever I choose to be creative. And that can look again, in so many ways. So from a kind of like a philosophy, a design or kind of art philosophy, creative philosophy. That's been something that I've been able to formulate over the years, going through school and going through all these different projects and opportunities. Is that it's always an invitation to create in that same thing. And outside of that one, rest, the importance of rest. Oh my goodness. There's a point that you can become over creative where it actually is destructive. And that was something that I had to learn through working at a specific place. Just churning out projects that it ended up leading to me laid out on the floor in a panic attack, an anxiety attack. That was just like I had been going so much that my body was just like, it's done. You need to rest. Like there's no more. And that just spoke on so many levels, and we can dive into that story later, but it's so true. Even I'm going to tie in some of the things that I've learned even in the medicine world, but cancer is just the overproduction of cells. It's creating rapidly. It's over creating, and it becomes so destructive to people. And I've gone through that journey myself, and that's part of my story, that I've dealt with that, and God has healed me from that. But really learning about the fact that over creativity will literally be destructive. And so the prioritization of rest as a creative, oh my goodness, I couldn't preach more about it. I am a rest evangelist. So yeah. Those are some of the things that I've learned over the years.
That is so good. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that of your creative philosophy of dream, risk, and remind me the last one.
Create.
Mm-hmm. Nice. How have you seen that, or how has that carried you through your different projects? How do you practically think through that as you're maybe get a new project coming in for your agency?
Yeah, well, just starting from the dream, obviously I'm taking someone else's dream and helping them create it, but I get to also step into that process. And so practically speaking, what that looks like is one of the things that I first start, before I even open up my laptop, before I even start mood boarding or anything like that, I take this blank sheet of paper and I write the name of whatever. Maybe it's like they're wanting to create a company logo, or they're wanting to do some product, and this is the name that I'm building off of. And so I'll write that name in the middle and I'll circle it. It's just this white sheet of paper, and I'll circle it, and then I start just adding little marks around it, like little lines. And then I'll actually time myself. So there's times where I do 5 minutes where I don't let my Sharpie leave the piece of paper, or I can do something like 1 minute, see what just comes to mind. And so I'm just writing all these different ideas. Okay, red. Okay, I'm going to go into painting, just whatever comes into mind. Abstract, shape, line, circle, eyes, ocean, box. And I just go off. Whatever that name is, whatever it can be, I'm just thinking things within that name that can complement it. And then when I step back after those 5 minutes, I look at it, and then I look at it to see what are the common things that I've said, what works well together. And I try to circle all these 5 things, and then that's what then goes into the next process. So it's like this brainstorm, this kind of dreaming up, what can this be? What can this look like? That ends up getting me all the way kind of through. But that's always the first step that I go through.
But it's in a very controlled space, which I kind of like. It's not let's dream for 6 hours and kind of get lost and rack my brain, but you kind of have a time to be free, which actually I think is one of the most difficult parts of being a creative, and it's a discipline that we learn of like how to balance like structure and freedom, because like freedom is so necessary for creative work, for divergent thinking. But without structure, it's like there's nothing to hold it up. There's nothing
Exactly.
sustainable. So have you ever struggled with the balance of those two things? And is that how you kind of came to that process, or was that something that you naturally already had?
No, I've definitely struggled with that. I'm not going to act like that wasn't ever a an issue of mine. For sure. I mean, I don't know whether this like one of those things like habits that you build over time, like procrastination is a real thing. And, through like whether it was middle school or high school, like procrastinating on projects, there's a lot of things that we can learn from it. And so maybe this is one of those things that were adopted post that, but there were definitely moments within the creative process where I've procrastinated very early on before kind of having a structure. And that led to also some great creative things, but it was always one of those things where I'd ask myself, could I have created that in less time? Could I have done what I did within a constraint of time? I didn't need a month. I didn't need 3 months. And what was it that caused those 3 months or 6 months to create whatever I was creating? And so it definitely was, I almost just died off of this stool that I'm standing on. But I have learned a lot from that. There's definitely been moments where in my life where there wasn't that structure that was there before. And it was just kind of like aimlessly shooting a bow and arrow and hoping something sticks, and led to a lot of like just scratching the project and ending it, and just really no fruit really that came from it that I'd say. So this structure really has helped me a lot.
Yeah. That's really awesome. That makes a lot of sense, because it kind of ties into what you were talking about before with rest. Like now that's kind of part of your creative practice and formula. Um, is there anything else that's like, this is an essential in my creative process, um, in like how I get a new project or even work on your own personal project? Like what's another key creative practice that you have?
Yeah, I think being a person of faith, has really like it instills my work. Like it's so embedded within my work. Again, like yes, I've mentioned rest, but one of the things too is identity. That but this is not does not shape who I am. This doesn't inform who I am. And knowing that, it's also very freeing in that this isn't the project, like this project isn't going to define me for the rest of my life and all these different things. And so having that strong rooted identity has helped a lot. And I think a lot of people, like, they identify as what they do, the work that they are, and that's truly not at all. Like being rooted in something bigger than work and bigger than you and I is what really then speaks into my work. But also I can just separate and I can just be done with work and knowing that it's not me. And so having that identity has, having that rooted, strong identity has really helped me in the creative process or whatever project I'm a part of. So.
Yeah. Can you dive in more to that identity piece? Because I think that's like core to so many things, like not even just creative output and creative work, but also just like self self worth, like personal groundedness, like all of that root is rooted in identity. Like not having a panic attack every week for whatever reason, whether it's because of burnout, because of a lack of boundaries, like all of those different things are rooted in having a really strong identity. And I would love for you to dive in a bit more on like how you've found yours, and how you've cultivated a space to keep it.
Yeah. That is phenomenal. I think it's so important and something I stress to people that I work with. And whenever I get these opportunities to talk about this, because it's something that has truly changed my world. Because I definitely operated out of that place where I had to do everything. Like this is who I was, and it's got to be upstanding, and just all of these things where it actually hindered me, like internally. Like I obviously to some point, like it landed me in that panic attack, in that anxiety attack, where it wasn't healthy. Like I was rooted in something that it wasn't supposed to be rooted in. Like my identity was wrapped up in something that it never was supposed to. Like it couldn't carry that. And so I think from that entire experience that I'm going to talk about when it comes to, me being in that panic attack was the fact that I had to set boundaries, that I had to remove myself from it. And one of the most profound things that when I got hospitalized, I got, the ambulance came, and this was my first time ever experiencing something like that. And so I didn't know that you can like almost kind of induce yourself into like deeper states of it. And it was just like, it was crazy. This rush of emotions I've never experienced before. But in the midst of that, actually, I felt God's presence. And it wasn't like one of those things where like, all right, son, like I'm pulling you out of this. But in like the deepest moment, like where I felt like the whole world like just crowding in, like I can look up and I just felt like I was in this like stadium, and there was just like a million people just kind of shrouding over me, and like the light was just diminishing, and I was just like in the middle of this arena, and all of just the walls closing in. It was in that I felt God, and I felt his peace. Again, it wasn't one of those things where he's like, I'm pulling you out of it, but he's like, look at me. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to look at you, but it's like, look at me. And I hear his voice, and I look to the right, and he's there in it with me, like laid out right there next to me. And in that moment, I felt so much peace. Like, and he's just comforting me, and he's like, you're going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. And so I was just like, I'm getting goosebumps all over again. But just feeling his nearness in that moment, and like, this is the person that I should be rooted in. And so anyways, I get through this entire thing. I get hospitalized, and the doctor tells me something. He's like, Markis, I'm writing you a prescription. Here he is. And it's going to be and I'm like, oh goodness, like I'm already starting to get anxious again. I'm like, I'm not an anxious person, but like here he is, he's going to like administer me like some kind of drug and this and that. I'm like, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm already like fighting against it. He's like, rest. That's it. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. He's like, rest. You're gonna rest for 3 days. Don't think about work. Don't think about anything creative. Don't think about like what you need to do like when you get back into work. Like, rest. Don't do anything. Like, doctor prescribed rest is just crazy. Like I was not expecting this. But actually, I kid you not, that really like that changed so much for me. Like again, in the tradition I grew up in, it was always about Sabbath rest and things like that. But I did not know rest in this way. And that was such a mind shift for me that really restructured things. So during those 3 days of rest, absolutely doing nothing, not flexing a creative muscle, anything like that, that really brought me down to like this ground level where I get to rebuild, I get to restart. And from this ground level, I think my creative work has been so much better rooted in rest. Like this ground level of, I'm a person of rest. I'm a person of peace. I'm not a person, I'm not the culmination of how many projects I can get out in a month. I'm not the culmination of wow, that was a great project, and then have this lull the next month. Like, I'm a person of peace. I'm full of of that peace. I have so much provision. I don't operate out of lack. I have his fullness, like within me, like it that inspires me. But this right here, nothing can ever take away from me. Whether projects come in or don't, like nothing can take this away from me. So that was the foundation where now all these building blocks got to come into play. And so I hope that answers the question yeah.
That's incredible. I think God like really finds us in these moments, and he's like, son, daughter, like I'm gonna just restructure you real quick. Realign your vision, realign your sight, and give you a different perspective. And he invites us to see creativity like how he sees it, or to see ourselves as he sees us. And then it changes you forever. You're like never the same person ever again. And that's why I'm excited to hear from like creatives of faith, because I want to see like how has God kind of regenerated your creativity? Like, what does your creativity look like now on the other side of rendering your creativity during your life, your identity to Him? So I love that you shared that story. Such an awesome visual too, that you were able to share. Gave me chills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that I've been learning to embrace a lot more. And there's a lot of people who go through that as well. And so in my life, I've learned that, yes, hey, your testimony is amazing, but it wasn't just meant for you. And the word is so true. How do we overcome the enemy? It's by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so this is what's going to help free other people in their life and their journey throughout whatever they're going through. Like, oh my goodness, you went through that too. I went through that too. Hey, there's hope. There's victory on the other side of that. And so, yeah.
I don't know if you experienced this, is kind of like off topic, but just like that personal freedom that you like finally get to walk into, you kind of feel like you're on top of the world, like not in an ambitious sense, but there's just so much space now. There's space for people. There's space for creativity. Like there's like a lightness and a joy that just kind of comes. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I've experienced that recently, and it's like you just kind of feel unstoppable. You're like, the Lord is really with me on all the things that He's called me to do, and there's so much space to play within that. Have you seen that in your own creative work or just in your own personal projects?
I love what you said, like the lightness that you have. And I couldn't relate more. That's exactly how I felt coming back after that moment that I had. Just the lightness that I had. Like everyone in the workplace was like, Markis, you're like, you look so different. Like, what is it? And it's that lightness that you carry once you know, like, that's not who I am. Again, my identity is rooted and I have so much freedom now. Like I'm not operating again out of these places of lack or anything else or striving for something when I have everything that I need. So yes, I can so relate.
Love that. If there's a creative out there, or just anybody who's like been on the hamster wheel in the rat race, clarify for us once again, like the parameters of this 3-day rest. If you were to prescribe this to someone, how would you kind of package that?
Yeah, let me wear my doctor hat real quick. In another life, I would have been one, but the parameters. I think again, don't try your best not to, and it's hard. It's hard. Like you're going to get it wrong, actually. Like, but then it's also an invitation to just restart again. Like it's not this pressure, like oh I failed, oh my goodness, but it's like an invitation to stop, slow down, restart. And so what that looks like is don't flex a creative muscle. I wish I can give you like the exact thing, but just whatever that is that comes into your mind that like, oh, I need to do this, or man, what if I played with this type and this color for that one project, or, for whatever else I have coming up. just stop. Like, try to hold that thought captive, surrender it, let go of that control, and restart. And so that's what I would say. It's just holding every thought captive, and again, don't flex any creative muscle, but just just rest, go on a walk. Like, don't try to go on a run, like where you need to prove something, but just go on a walk, enjoy nature, take those deep breaths in, and just say thank you, and enjoy everything that's good, beautiful, and true. And that's what I would say. That those were things that I put into practice in those moments. Like, just, okay, I'm going to go on a walk today. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm gonna write something down, but just try not to use that creative muscle. It's tough, but again, even if it is tough, you get to stop, reset, and restart, and go from there.
That's awesome. I think about like God, even when he was creating, right, the 6 days of creation, he made one part, like, he was like, okay, like trees appear. And then he was like, yeah, that's good. And then he was done for the day. And I'm like, okay, so there's not only the rest of like, I'm going to rest at the end of the week, but the rest also within every day. Like, my work is done. Now I can go enjoy what I've made, enjoy what else I have going on in my life.
Yes.
So think of that.
Yes. I think that is so important as well. It's the practice of learning when to say enough. And again, there's so much, Ashley, that's rooted in the Genesis story, that if we just took some time to just sit here for a moment, don't read it like it's just like every other story, but sit with it. Let it read you. Like, what is it saying? Why is there a talking snake? Like, we can't just blow past this like it's, a fairy tale story, but there's something in it that really is speaking. And so within it, we learn that God, so many things about who God is, but he knows when to say it's good, it's enough. Like, no, I can take a break. And so with that, that's also what I learned. Again, re-encountering this story of Genesis. And there's a God who knows when to say enough. Do I know when to say enough? And again, if we are made in his image, are we bearing his image in that way to say, that's enough for today? Okay, I've been working at this project for 2 hours. Enough. And honestly, when we do those things, something that I've learned in art school and design school was just take a break. After 30 minutes of, I like to do charcoal drawings. After 30 minutes, take a break and just walk away. You come back and you realize, okay, let me start from here. Now, if you're working at it for 5 hours, 10 hours, you're tired, you're not making good decisions anymore on your art piece, whatever it is that you're working on. And then you end up reaching a point where you just want to crumble the paper and just throw it out. But had you taken those breaks, enough, I'm good, I'm going to walk away for a little bit. Then you realize, at the end of it, wow, this is beautiful. What a masterpiece. And so, yes, learning to say enough, I can't stress that enough as well. No pun intended. I don't know if I meant to say that, but it's a practice. It is a practice. When to step away from your work, when to be like, okay, this is good. And I think that's what he says in the garden. This is good. Like, God could have made us with so many other things, but he said, this is good. Wait, wow, that's so beautiful and so freeing to know. And we get to partake in that too. We have to test the structural integrity of things. I think of the building that I'm in right now. At some point, the contractors and whoever was laying the foundation had to say, this is good. Now we can continue to move forward onto phase 2. And so it's that same thing that we have to also apply in our day-to-day lives. This is enough. This is good. And continue to go from there.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I think about like what you're saying is that I can look at the same piece of work in two different mindsets and then have two completely different opinions about it. And
yeah,
I just want to emphasize for anyone out there who's like, my work sucks, whatever. It's like, are you really in the mindset or the mind frame to make that judgment, to make that decision right now?
Yes.
Come back to it. Come back to it with a refreshed mind, with better sense of self, and see
go rest. Go take a nap. Come back to
it. Who was it? Was it Elijah? Was it Elijah or Elisha? God was like, take a nap and have a nap.
Yeah, you need some food. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So what else can we like gather from the Genesis story about like who God is as a creative and like how that can inform who we can be as creatives, or who we're called to be as creatives?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I mentioned early on was just that dream, risk, create principle. That's something that I learned from the Genesis account. And this is all really stemming from post that panic attack, where I really just like got so rooted in the word that all of these things started kind of jumping out from the pages. So that principle itself is rooted in Genesis. And also it takes place, which is funny enough, is people don't realize Genesis 1 is, it's not in the beginning of time. It's in our beginning that this began. So it's the telling of a story of humanity. Now, there had to be a beginning before the beginning. And I also talk about this with some other creatives and opportunities I've gotten to speak on this. So I'll just briefly go into it, but there had to be a beginning before our beginning, Genesis 1:1, takes place. And so in that prior beginning is where also you can take these principles of dream, risk, create. Like God had a dream of a world where it was filled with his creative things, that whatever he made, but also filled with people in his own image that he would dwell with. And so you take that and you see it. So he had to create time. He had to create space in order for us to encounter him in time and space. Like there's so much things that's so drawn into it. And again, I was stuck on this for months. And I think that's one of the deepest things that I learned from that. Again, rest is one of those things. Also, like learning the cadence. There was morning and there's evening. You know, like there's a cadence to each of these days, but also like proclaiming a judgment on something is important. And clearly, he does it, and he says it's good. And so, like, what are you using? Like, also with your words about what you're doing, who you're with, like it translates into so much things. Like there's power also within the words, within the tongue. And he's proclaiming judgment. Judgment doesn't always have to be bad, but he's a judge as well. Not only is he a creator, but he's also a judge. Oh, we got some thumbs up. Awesome. But he judges and he says, this is good. It is good. This is very good. And so are we speaking that as well? Are we speaking that into our thing? So those are just a few, but my goodness, we'd probably be here for 3 hours, and I can like go through all my notes on my phone of like everything that I broke down from
I'm sure
Genesis.
Stuff pops up every day too. It's like, I didn't even think about it this way. Yep. That's cool. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit, just briefly, about words and naming things and the impact and power of that, and how that can inform our identity and who we are?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I believe that we often think that our story starts at Genesis 3, but our story actually starts in Genesis 1. And so when we look at the creative account and when we look at the creation account, whose eyes are we seeing it through? Are we seeing it through, like, okay, human to human, yeah, you did this? Or are we seeing it through God's lens? Are we seeing it through his eyes? Because he made a judgment on you. Like, there's something there that, like, being rooted in not the Genesis 3, but the Genesis 1, like, if we can get that Genesis well, like, I think that we'll start to believe other things. And I can also see why a lot of people are scared of going down that route, but I find faith so much more, like, so much richer, so much more beautiful. Like, when we go from Genesis 1, not Genesis 3 and on, like, there's so much there. So I think words are so important. And you can pronounce, like, it's just crazy, just the power that God has. Again, it's part of that creative act that he also invites us into, that he gives us the power to name things. And, whether it's your literal name, my literal name, that you give to somebody, but it carries meaning. It goes forth and it proclaims something about that thing. And you can fall, you can, like, not the word victim, but, like, you can fall prey to someone's words over you and let that shape the rest of your life. Like, Markis, you're not good enough. Markis, you're a fake. Or, like, there's just been, like, things that, like, I've heard over the years, in my life. Markis, you're never going to have a place in this church. Like, there's just been so much stuff that if I had fallen to prey to that one person's words, that would have completely, like, just derailed me from what God has for me. And so, again, whose words am I listening to? Am I rooting myself in what's true or what's false? Am I rooting myself into man's perspective or God's perspective on things? And so I think that's really where a lot, when it comes to, like, speaking life, it's so important. I want to collaborate with God, and God only speaks life. He's not speaking death over anybody or anything. He's a giver of life. And so in that same way, with the words that I choose to speak over people, I want to do the same thing. So
That is so good, because as soon as you were describing that, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, if you were to, like, agree with those negative words that were said towards you or about you, like, you would almost be co-creating with them or creating with the negativity around that, and then that becomes reality.
yes.
But we have the opposite choice to kind of create with the Lord and what he says about us. And what he says about us is good, and it's that option is always available. So I love that you kind of brought it into this perspective of co-laboring, because or collaborating, because in that aspect, creativity is for everybody. In that lens, like, God is still creating in every single one of us, and we have the opportunity to create with others and for others. Can you share any experiences that you've had with co-creating with the Holy Spirit, where you've been creating a particular piece and you literally felt the Holy Spirit with you creating and working with you on that piece? What was that like?
There is always that divine invitation to quite literally co-labor with him. And I think that's, again, rooted in the Genesis story, that he gives man these tasks to do. And there's so much in that it's like, you're going to help me put this world together. And in the same sense, there is an invitation still till today, like, with whatever choice that you make, will you partner with me in putting this world back together? Will you partner with me in ushering the kingdom? And so there have been very tangible moments where I have co-labored with God, co-labored with the Spirit. And there's times where I've, it can be something simple like this. Like, I can't solve this thing right now, and I'm just stuck. I'm literally stuck. And then there's just like this divine spark that kind of just comes in and helps carry me through to the end. And it's like, oh, that's all I needed. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. And there's been moments where like I have just like felt like it's kind of like his guidance through, whether it's like certain brush strokes with whatever painting that I'm working on, or again, just like, okay, how am I going to merge all these elements, right? Like I talked a little bit about the fact that like at the beginning of my creative process, I'll start circling a whole bunch of things and writing stuff on a sheet of paper. And I'm just stuck on like, how am I going to tell this story? And there are always those moments that I really feel like I can feel the Holy Spirit there with me. And there's like this connection that just kind of goes off, and it's like, whoa. And now like I can't stop. And now I'm like, this is amazing. And now I'm just cruising, and we're just cruising together on this thing. And I, can kind of feel like, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, I love that, Marcus. That's such a great idea. I'm like, oh, what if I did it? Oh, that's awesome too. And so there's just such this beautiful co-laboring that happens together. And so, yes, it's this divine invitation to co-labor with him. And those are definitely some moments. There's been some moments where I've created excuses. Like I don't have, I don't have the right equipment. I don't have everything, and God's like, Marcus, I've given you everything to do it. And even in songwriting, like where there's just like this block or certain things, and it's just comes out of me. In worship leading, there's also that I feel it as well, that co-laboring with his Spirit, that there's moments where like things need to be said in this moment, or this song needs to be said in this moment. And wow, what an amazing opportunity that I get to co-labor with the Spirit in that. So, yeah.
Well, it's like in real life, he's like, make a mark right here, or brush the color this way. And it's like a spiritual painting that we can't see, but God is weaving together this like
Yes.
huge tapestry that, at the end of time we'll get to see, and that he's been creating since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to this next generation of creatives coming up? This is something that you need in your life. And like, this is something you need to avoid with a 10-foot pole. So one thing that you would say, need, essential, and then avoid, don't ever.
Oh man. Well, I would say identity is definitely the foundation for a lot of it. And just if you're getting into whatever it is, and I'll just say this, if you are someone who loves mathematics, I think you are just as creative. If you are someone who's in the medicine field, you are just as creative. I think if you are someone who loves sewing, you are just as creative. Like, each one is incredibly creative. So don't be boxed in to think that creativity only looks this way. It only looks like me having like this acrylic paint and these brushes behind me and doing all these things. Like, it does not look that way. I think everyone has such creative potential in whatever thing that you're doing, but be rooted in your identity. You are not your work. And that is going to be so freeing in whatever endeavor that you follow. It's going to yield better fruit. Your vision's going to be so much clearer. And there's going to be so many God-breathed opportunities that you wouldn't yourself be able to engineer when you understand that your identity is rooted in Him. And so that's one of the things that I would say. I would say also, don't mistake waiting for wasting. There's so many things that I've learned in that. Like, there's times of waiting. There's times where it's not time yet, but it's not wasted either. And so don't mistake waiting. Don't waste the waiting thinking that it was wasted. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that really cuts clear. And so, yeah, that's what I would encourage.
Last one, that'll do it. I think so many of us struggle with waiting, like in every aspect of life, but even in the things that we're making. What's one thing that you do to withstand the wait or to make meaning out of the wait as you wait for the meaning to kind of reveal itself when it's time?
I've learned to surrender control. I think that's really one of the biggest things, is that everything in its due season. And even though it may be a no right now, doesn't mean it's going to be a no later. But I'm saying yes to this moment. I'm saying yes to the waiting. And knowing that, again, God is in control of these things. I'm not going to try to force it. I'm not going to try to force engineer it. Truly, I mean, we want to go back to the biblical story. God said something to Abraham, and Abraham tried to force engineer it. Maybe it's this way that we need to have this kid. And it never really goes well when we try to force engineer things. So why don't I just sit my behind right here, enjoy this time right now, getting to know who God is, getting to just like see on how far I've come so far, and just be ready for that moment that it's a green light, it's a yes. And so we can't ever waste the waiting.
I know you're probably waiting on some things right now, or your audience, your people are waiting on some things right now from you. What are some things that you've got working on right now? Any events, projects, things where people can find you and get in contact with what you're creating?
Well, I don't have anyone waiting right now, so I fulfilled a lot of orders. This is probably what I was doing yesterday, just like the hats and shirts. And so that's been my biggest thing right now, is honestly just getting this first collection out and getting everyone their orders. And so that's been incredibly exciting, and just working on, like, again, future collections, and God's already like doing some amazing things within that, and building all these connections from just, I mean, what, the brand's probably been out for 2 weeks now. And the first day it like sold out, like these hats sold out. And I was like, holy smokes, thank you, Lord. This is phenomenal. And what an amazing issue to have. And so that's been like what I've been working on so much right now. You can find me on Instagram or like Facebook. I'm more on Instagram, just my name, Markis Zarate. And there's a lot of other things that I'm working on too, a lot of other dreams of just being able to create spaces for creatives and also worshipers. That's a whole nother side of my story as well when it comes to worship music and leading worship and songwriting, but just really creating a space where both of those two can exist. And there's some awesome stuff in the works of being able to take this kind of cross country and create these kind of little pop-up events. So I've been working on that for some time, and I can't wait to hopefully debut it here within 2025. So yeah.
So he's got some pretty awesome stuff. So if you're interested in getting some merch, definitely check out his Instagram. We'll also add all of those links below in the description. Before we close out here, Markis, I want to ask you, what is something that is bringing you joy right now?
That is a great question. What is bringing me joy right now? I think what's bringing me joy, for whatever reason, I'm just going to say it, but it's just his leadership in my life, and that has been perfect. That he's been redeeming so many things that happened to me when in my adolescence and through my college years, all these different things, and he's just been redeeming everything. And so that's the joy that I've really had of late, just seeing how everything has been kind of going full circle. Like he just turned it around for my good. I thought that, like that would never come back again, but like, wow, you've been working this all out in the back, and I had no clue. And so that has been like really, like, I've been so joyous because of that, because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing his goodness in so many fronts. And so I'm really excited for this next decade of my life. I just turned 30 this month, not this month, earlier this year. And so, like, I really believe that this next decade, there's just going to be so much fruit, so much provision, and just everything that, again, has happened. He's turned it for my good, and I'm going to see it in many, many different ways here in these 30s. And everything that I've been working on too. Like, I've been working a lot. And so I'm really excited to also see all those things kind of come into fruition. The dreaming, the risking, the creating. This year of 30s is going to be seeing it all.
It ties back, I think, to what you were saying in the beginning about how you love to just commit to something. And I think the fruit of staying committed to the vine of life with Christ, we get to see fruit like this turn around, even if it's so much later than we expected or than we hoped. It comes right on time, and we're like, wow, like, I wouldn't have had him lead me any other way, no matter how tough the journey has been.
Yeah. Yes. And I can absolutely say that now.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It was such a pleasure and a joy to have this chat with you. And I hope to see you again, hopefully in person sometime soon.
Yes. Absolutely, Ashley. It's been such a privilege, such an honor. And I'm glad that, again, we got to do this. We finally got to do this. And so, yeah, thank you again for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the WRLDJOY podcast. This series, A Creative Genesis, is meant to be an ode to the genesis of every creative and adventurous pursuit. My hope is that starting doesn't feel so scary or so far away. In the show notes, you'll find information on today's guest, information on our following guest, as well as access to upcoming creative products that you can check out on our website. I'm so happy that you're here. It's such a pleasure to have you. And this has been your host, Ashley, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.